So some new reports are leaking out about Microsoft's plans for the future and the new consoles that will hit the market. Earlier this year, we talked about the Xbox Scarlett, which is going to be the next traditional console that Microsoft plans on releasing. That's going to be a beefier version of the Xbox X. But we've also heard Microsoft mention consoles with an S, meaning multiple devices. And the latest reports, if true, shed a light on what we can expect from Xbox as far as another platform goes besides the Scarlett, and it once again involves the power of the cloud. We haven't heard the power of the cloud talk in a while, but it's coming back. So according to multiple sources, Microsoft is planning on launching a streaming box. Cue the oohs and ahs. We've known that they've been working on a streaming box or a streaming service for a long time. I mean, they were showing this off back at conferences years ago with like Halo running on a mobile device. And while a lot of gamers say that streaming's never going to be like mainstream, it's always going to have problems due to things like latency, which is a big issue with streaming, Microsoft apparently has come up with a solution that lets you stream your games with as low of a latency as your current multiplayer games are, at least according to these reports. And the way they've done it is by developing a hybrid box. So instead of just a streaming box that's just like, you know, a USB you plug in and all of a sudden all your games are there streaming directly from the cloud, Microsoft is going to have a box that does include some local hardware. Which is going to be able to locally compute specific tasks like image processing, controller input, and collision detection. And then the cloud kind of brings all that data together. So if you're going to have a box that does have some local hardware in it, it does mean that it's not going to be as cheap as maybe some of the other streaming devices out there on the market. But it would still be a whole lot cheaper than whatever the Xbox Scarlett, for instance, is going to cost. And according to The Verge, Microsoft is investing heavily in this technology and will let a number of other devices and platforms access the cloud once they get it up and running, because their main goal is to get consumers to be brought into the subscription models that Microsoft has, because that's actually turning in more money than just selling hardware and games. So you can bet, for instance, that Xbox Game Pass is probably going to be available on this streaming service, so they can get you to try to subscribe to Xbox Live and then Xbox Game Pass on that. So they want you to be constantly giving Microsoft and feeding Microsoft money, and this is one way for them to do it and to appeal to people who aren't going out spending hundreds of dollars on consoles. Now, if you're one of those gamers that has a terrible internet connection, you have to deal with data caps, then Microsoft has a console for you, and that's called the Scarlett. But for everybody else, it's just going to be another option. And I think from a business standpoint, I think it's a good move. It doesn't take anything away from the traditional gamer and will likely make it so that you can just take your games with you on the go. So you can play games with mobile, I would imagine, in the future, or maybe they even decide to come out with their own handheld or something. Hardcore gamers are still going to buy a traditional console. But for a lot of families that don't want to invest hundreds of dollars into a machine, they would now be able to buy in at a much lower cost and have access to a large lineup of games right out the box. So streaming can work, and while I certainly don't want gaming to go 100% streaming, I don't think it ever will, I do think it's going to play a much larger role in the future, and systems like GeForce Now are proving that the systems are getting a lot better at this. So post your thoughts down below if you think this is something that's a good idea, and if it's something that you would be interested in. So for me personally, I think it's a good idea, but not something that I personally would be interested in, at least from what I've heard so far. Price and performance is going to be key. This is for me, The Red Dragon. Stay tuned to Video Games and News for the latest headlines. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.